right now. Your local news at 6. This is Breaking News.
Thank you for joining us. We begin with some breaking news tonight. It is one of the worst natural disasters in Washington's history, and that's how many are describing the massive mudslide in Snohomish County.
NBC right now has been tracking the latest in this story all week. Now, so far, we know that 17 people are confirmed dead. 9 bodies have been found, but have not been recovered, and 90 people are still missing.
The Snohomish County Medical Examiner is working as fast as they can to update those totals. Now, authorities told the media earlier today that they hope to have an update on those numbers at their evening press briefing, which is scheduled to begin in just moments. We learned on Thursday that the landslide involved about 6 to 7 million cubic yards of mud and dirt, and that's enough to cover more than 400 football fields with a foot of mud.
Hundreds of volunteers are helping with the recovery efforts. Some are helping with the search for victims, while others are providing meals or just offering comfort to the families affected by this disaster. Now, we want to take you live to that news conference right now.
I want to thank the volunteers and the many teams and agencies who have put in countless hours. I would like to thank my family and friends for supporting me both here and at home. I would also like to thank my fellow fire chiefs. They have placed themselves in supportive positions to allow me to be present in Oso, where I coordinate efforts and work with the community members who have been directly affected. Finally, I want to thank the businesses and organizations who have donated food, clothing, and supplies to make our work here more effective. We appreciate your continued support. We are doing everything we can to help those who have suffered so much. And with that, I would like to introduce our Executive Director, Gary Hawkinson.
Thank you, John. Good evening. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank, as the Executive Director Pennington and Chief Hotz for the amazing work that they've done over what's almost approaching a week now in very difficult circumstances. They needed a break. They needed some time off to be with their family and friends. And frankly, they need time away from this tragedy. I'd like to address the manner in which we have been notifying the press and the public of the actual number of victims on a daily basis. But first, let's talk about the path that a victim takes once they've been found in the field. When a victim is found out in the field, their position is marked for a helicopter pickup. The helicopter will extract that victim to the holding area and place them in a truck that's provided by the National Guard. And as you may have heard today, the helicopters can't fly all the time, which hinders the picking up of the victims out in the field. At night, the victims are transported to the medical examiner's office in Everett. Autopsies are performed. The process of identification takes place, if possible. The identification process has been very, very challenging. Once identified, we send a chaplain to the family to notify them of our finding. And after that takes place, a medical examiner staff person also calls the victim's family to arrange for a funeral home. Then and only then do we send out a press release identifying that particular victim. So back to the matter of a daily victim count. Like the families, the media, and you folks, and the folks watching on TV, I have shared the frustration on the number being a moving target over the last 6 days. The victim count should be announced only by the medical examiner's office, and only once a day, so that everybody's working off the same information. So from here on out, every day at 4:30, the medical examiner's office will give the victim count to the Incident Command Center here in Arlington. They will then pass that information on to whoever is doing the 6 o'clock briefing for you folks. That will be the only announcement on a daily basis of the victim count in the medical examiner's office. Yesterday afternoon at this time, the total was 14, as you may have seen in a press release overnight. 3 victims were brought into the ME's office overnight, bringing the total to 17. This morning, the total was still 17. And that is your total for today. The total is still 17. That's the official number from the medical examiner's office. That's the only number that we will be giving out. Now, the operations folks made me aware this afternoon that they did locate one more victim in the debris field, but we are not including that in our total until they actually reach the medical examiner's office. Finally, the medical examiner's office has contacted every family member that could possibly have a victim, and we have explained to them this process. They understand. The medical examiner's office has also gathered any identification notes from those family members to help us with the ID process. The National Guard, Skagit County, and King County have added staff to our medical examiner's office, along with our dedicated employees, and they are all working in a very, very difficult environment. And I might add, they are caught up. My heart goes out to the families. My thanks goes out to the close to 1,000 people taking part in the process in the field, in the EOC, in Arlington, and in Darrington. I'm also confident that none of you have any questions, so I'll take a couple before I introduce the mayor.
All right, you've been watching a live press conference on the deadly landslide in Snohomish County. We just heard from the executive there that they're adapting their policy, if you will. They will only be announcing the victim count once a day. That will come out in their press briefing at 6 p.m. They had 17 total victims this morning. That number has not changed today, and they have told us now that victims will not be included in that count until they reach the medical examiner's office.
Yeah, and we're also told, too, that no survivors have been found since last Saturday.
Well, as this death toll continues to climb, we're hearing about local families who have now received word that they lost loved ones in the landslide.
Laura Murray met with an Ellensburg family who lost but will never forget one of their own.
Shannon Meredith, as we continue to hear the news about the search efforts for the missing, one local family tells me as devastating as it was to find Summer Raffo's body in the wreckage, at least they have some closure. They say their thoughts are with the families who are still living in the unknown.
It's devastating.
It's unimaginable pain and suffering, but with love for each other and precious memories of their smiling summer, a family gets through tragedy.
She was just happy-go-lucky. That's why she's named Summer, because she was always smiling, you know, and everybody loved her.
I always wanted to be like Summer.
36-year-old Summer Raffo was driving to a friend's house to help with a horse when the mudslide swept her away. Summer's brothers and cousins dug with their own hands for 5 whole days until they found the blue Subaru with Summer's body inside. Summer was a newlywed, a horse whisperer, and the best friend to her mother, Ray.
Telling her, I said, we're going to bring her home. We're going to get her out and bring her home. And we did.
Through their grief and tears, the family clings to each other for support and strength.
Just looking at my kids and thanking God that we're still here and we still have the family that we do have, that we're here for each other.
Until the day Flo says they'll see Summer again.
She's up there riding her horse with wings on it, waiting for us to get up there to ride with her. Oh, I said, well, I'll be up there riding wagon horses.
Florinda told me about another family with local ties impacted by the mudslide. Chris and Loanna Langton lost their home in the devastating Taylor Bridge fire nearly 2 years ago in Cleella. They moved to Oso to rebuild and now once again have tragically lost their home in the mudslide. Live in Yakima, Laura Murray, NBC, right now.
Thank you, Laura. Well, the community of Oso is getting much needed help from our local Red Cross chapters.
The Yakima Ellensburg chapter currently has 11 volunteers at the cleanup site, as well as an emergency response vehicle that will help hand out food and supplies to emergency personnel. The volunteers are mental health professionals and are focusing on supporting family members who have loved ones that are still missing. The Benton Franklin Red Cross has also deployed one volunteer to help coordinate housing and transportation for the nearly 300 volunteers.
East of the Cascade Mountains, it's certainly been a soggy and overcast Friday with widespread wet weather. And if we look at how much rainfall we've seen over the past 24 hours, it certainly is widespread and well spread out for that matter. The lower Columbia Basin, over 1/4 inch of rain in most spots, close to about 3/10 of an inch for the Tri-Cities, Walla Walla, as well as Pendleton, a far cry from what the Yakima Valley saw. Yakima itself, the city itself, I should say, 3/100 of an inch of rain, which really doesn't amount to very much. And here you can really see on the live radar that most of that rain is piled up right around the foothills of the Blue Mountains, with more rain expected as we work our way through the evening. Overnight, a bit of a break as we head into Saturday, with more rain set to affect us close to noon tomorrow. But I'll be back in a few minutes with your full forecast, which looks like it should include more rain.
All right, thank you, Mike. Well, a little rain couldn't keep the kids inside today.
Students at Sunset Elementary School ran between the drops at their Running with Our Heroes Jogathon. Some of the heroes that came out to run with the kids included Tri-Cities Fever defensive back Rudell Krim and wide receiver Harry Peoples. And the players say it's all about motivation and support.
Basically, just showing them that they can do it. They can do anything, as long as they put their minds to it and a little support behind them.
And Peoples were among several local professionals invited to run with the kids today. Well, still ahead, the Cayona-Benton City School District is holding a special board meeting tonight to decide on which firm they'll use and search for a new superintendent.
We'll have the latest on their decision coming up. Stay with us. It's been a tumultuous school year for the Cayona-Benton City School District, one that includes the resignation of the district superintendent back in January.
Tonight, Tracy Dial joins us from the district office as the school board plans to make a decision on the search firm they'll use to hire a new superintendent. Now, Tracy, what's the decision?
Well, Shane and Meredith, they actually did not make a decision tonight. The meeting started with an executive session, which just means closed doors, and they came out, they actually extended that by about 15 minutes, stayed back there, and then came back and sat down just to tell us that they are considering McPherson and Jacobson, or McPherson-Jacobson. It's the same firm that they used the first time or the last time they hired a superintendent, and it's also the same firm that the Richland School District recently used to hire their new superintendent. When I asked them why they are still considering something, he said no comment. So, and for now, we're going to just continue following this as there is new developments. For now, live in Benton City, Tracy Dial, NBC, right now.
Thank you, Tracy. A unique sporting challenge is making its way to Kennewick this weekend. The Skookum Challenge gives participants and spectators the chance to check out combat sports. We get the details from our partners at Tudacetus, the bilingual newspaper.
This weekend on Saturday, March 29th, the Skookum Sporting Event will take place at the Southridge Sports and Events Complex. Skookum events are a celebration of the combat and fitness sports. The event features distinct athletic disciplines, including boxing, powerlifting, wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, bodybuilding, fencing, karate, kickboxing, and several others. Skookum Tri-Cities will be divided into 2 sessions. The morning session is from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m., and the evening session begins at 6 p.m. and will last for approximately 3 hours.
From a spectator standpoint, particularly in the evening, it's a great show. So it's an educational experience for kids, introducing them into new sports, hopefully, and then pure entertainment after that.
Additional information regarding Skookum Tri-Cities, including schedule of events and registration information, can be found online at www.skookumevents.com. I'm Gracie Campos. You can read more about the sporting event in the current issue of Tudacetus, the bilingual newspaper.
All right, well, speaking of sports, the Mariners make their final roster moves ahead of opening day.
Plus, the struggling Tri-Cities Fever make a big change at quarterback. Find out who's coming back next.